was a 10-minute decision. It was a 3-minute decision. It was right. It felt right. It felt right then, and it feels even more right now.
The decision taken by Alltech's founder and president, Dr. Pearse Lyons, to assume title sponsorship of the 16-day 2010 FEI World Equestrian Games in Kentucky stands as a monumental moment in the history of equestrian sport. In this program, Dr. Lyons reflects on the games, their success, and the impact on Alltech.
When we think of the Alltech FEI World Equestrian Games, the term that comes to mind is a game changer. Because the games were a game changer. They were a game changer for Alltech. They were a game changer for Kentucky. And I think they were really a game changer for the equestrian world. They decided that this event was going to be allowed to come to America. The state of Kentucky decided that they would reach out and try and get it to come to the United States. So having achieved that, I think there was a lot of people out there wondering how successful really would it be. And with hindsight, as we look back, I mean, it was an amazing success. People will remember the fact that, for example, 62,000 children came into the games. That was part of their schedule, their school schedule. The money for that came from an outreach that we went out to local businesses who were perhaps doing business with us, and some of them weren't, to businesses all around the world. And we came up $2-3 million of cash with no strings attached to it, except we love your mission of trying to get young people involved in equestrian sport on one hand, and also young people understanding where science is going. Because the games, above everything else, was a showcase of agriculture. It was a showcase showing how important agriculture is. Oh, incidentally, equestrian sport were part and parcel of it. So I think, in fact, as we reflect back, hopefully people will say, you know, this showed that Kentucky could put on something like this. This showed America could put on something like this. This showed us at our best. And I think it was the governor, or perhaps it was the First Lady, said, visitors are coming, and the visitors are coming to our home, and therefore we need to clean up our act, clean up our house, and be welcoming. And if I've heard one comment coming back again and again, how friendly people were, how the thing ran without a hitch, how they really look forward to coming back again. For me, the defining moment was as we were approaching the opening ceremony, and Everett McCorvey had done so much great work in terms of orchestrating what was going to happen, real teamwork, you know, team, T-A-M, together everybody achieves more. And the defining moment was probably sitting there in that car with the icon, Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali was somewhat distracted, quite frankly, prior to coming into the arena. But when Muhammad Ali came into that arena and he heard the crowd and he heard the recognition, he was a new man. He was back to the old Muhammad Ali. So having that impact on an iconic character like him, that has to be one of the highlights of that Games. That and the rest of the opening ceremony. I mean, that showed people, wow, this thing is here, this thing is real, and this thing is huge. The lesson for me, reflecting back on the Alltech FEI World Equestrian Games, was number one, that Alltech could do it, and that we have a team, that our team, they were never involved in running anything like this, but that when we pulled in the people from WEG, that we together could make it happen. The second thing was just how talented some of them were, and how much they were willing to go that extra mile, and the volunteers. I'll never forget the volunteers. We had those volunteers, and we spoke to them. They said there were three things that they must always remember to make these games a success, and only three. And we call them those three S's. They needed to smile. They needed to smile. And they needed to smile. And each and every one of them was doing precisely that. And whether they were smiling because our people were going out and giving them donuts first thing in the morning or giving them something in the afternoon, it was all about teamwork. And so the lesson was, you know, politics, for example, at the moment is so derisive. And Republicans say one thing, the Democrats say the other. If we would all get together and get behind a single mission, boy, we could move mountains. And that was the message. People came to see us. The world came to us. You know, we just had the Super Bowl. Super Bowl had 100 million people watching the Super Bowl. Phenomenal. But you know that 500 million people watched the Alltech FEI World Equestrian Games. Let's get this thing into perspective. Okay, it was over 16 days. That's even more impressive than 100 million people watching for 3 or 4 hours. 500 plus million people watched. Very impressive that in an economic downturn, that we had over 500,000 people came to the games. Incidentally, so many horses had to be brought from overseas, a lot of expense. I think if America was to have this again, and if Kentucky was to have this again, I suspect you'd get 1 million people would come.